Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about Arlington and a statue that's there, and history, and a question that comes up, and congressional concern, and all of that stuff. And then at the end, we'll hit the news. And we're going to do this because I got a couple of questions about it, but one in particular I found interesting. Okay, so here's the message. I have a question about the Reconciliation Monument at Arlington. I know you oppose most Confederate monuments because of when they were built and the message attached to them, but I think you would agree this is different. Congress sure seems to think so. So, as a history buff, I have to ask you, as somebody who seems interested in history, how can we allow them to remove all connection to the Confederacy from Arlington Cemetery? Without something identifying the war, how will we know the history of the cemetery? The Union losses made seizing the land a necessity. Okay, so we're going to go through this like line by line now. I have a question about the Reconciliation Monument at Arlington. Yeah, see, I know that that's what everybody's calling it on social media. This is what I want you to do. Go to arlingtoncemetery.mil. You won't find that name. Click on where it says monuments and look for something called the Reconciliation Monument. You won't find that there. You will find something that says the Confederate Memorial, though. Just as a point of fact. Let's see. I know you oppose most Confederate monuments because of when they were built and the message attached to them, but I think you would agree this is different. That's true. That is true. If you don't know what this section is about, most Confederate monuments, those you find in the Deep South, they were not built like right after the Civil War or anything. They were built during periods of civil rights activity. And the message attached to them was pretty clear. You uppity folk better stay in your place. That's why they were built. The one at Arlington, it really did have a different purpose. It was built in the early 1900s, and it really did have a tone of reconciliation. That much is actually true. So there is that. Congress sure seems to think so. See, that's weird. Like, I know that there are congressional people who are upset about this possibly being removed, but you know why it's being removed, right? Because Congress said to. The NDAA of 2021 established a commission. They did a commission because they didn't want to take responsibility or heat for actually taking the votes. So they created a commission to make the decisions that would then have to be implemented within 3 years. Congress is actually made this happen, to be clear. Okay. So as a history buff, I have to ask you, as somebody who seems interested in history, how can we allow them to remove all connection to the Confederacy from Arlington Cemetery? That is impossible. More importantly, I think you know it's impossible. I mean, the obvious reason it's impossible is because there's Confederate soldiers there. I mean, that makes it really hard to remove any connection. But I think you know the other reason too, because you go on to say, without something identifying the war, how will we know the history of the cemetery? The Union losses made seizing the land a necessity. Seizing. That tells me you know where this land came from. Incidentally, it wasn't over Union losses, but it was seized. So for those who don't know, Arlington, it was taken early in the war, not because of Union losses, but because of its heights and artillery and being able to defend D.C. That's why the U.S. Army initially took it. And they took it from Mary Custis. That's who owned it. I know some history people right now are going, wait, I thought, no, Mary Custis actually owned it. She was married to somebody, though. See, she married into this family, the Lees. She married a man named Robert E. Lee. I feel like it's going to be really hard to remove all connection to the Confederacy from that place. Okay, so if you haven't figured it out, there is a monument in the middle of it's not in the middle, in Arlington, in the National Cemetery there. And it is the Confederate monument. It's a Confederate monument. There are some pretty objectionable things about it. And DOD, the Department of Defense, is trying to remove it. And some people in Congress who need an outrage of the week decided to get mad about this, even though it was Congress that authorized the commission that told DOD to remove it. The current development at time of filming, what has happened is there is a temporary restraining order while all of this gets sorted out. It's weird, though, because if Congress actually had an issue with it, Congress can undo what Congress did. But maybe they don't have the votes for it. Or maybe, they don't really want to win. They just want to get people mad. Get those social media clicks, because that is what passes for governing in the Republican Party, I guess. I don't think that there's ever going to be a point in time where people do not understand the connection between Arlington National Cemetery, the Civil War, or the Confederacy. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.